We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense, and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Greetings, everyone. Welcome again to another wonderful episode of Gray Lives on the Rise. See me with my shirt, Gray Lives on the Rise, and Tammy has her mug. So we are going to have a wonderful episode tonight. But before we get started, I always give information about how I came to be and a little bit information about me. Well, Gray Lives on the Rise started because I was walking one day. I was just walking. And all of a sudden, I had this download that come into my consciousness. And it basically said, there's nothing out there that addresses the needs of people in your age group. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, that's true. And then the thing was all laid out for me. It's like, you need to have people think differently about people who are 50 plus. You need to have some merchandise out there. Some people can relate to things because people like tangible things to relate to. And so therefore we had the store created, Gray Lives on the Rise. You can have the mug like Tammy has, the shirt like me, cosmetic bag, pillows. We have an array of products that you can choose from. And then I said, okay, what should it be called? It was like Gray Lives Matter. No, that's overused. Then I thought about it. It's okay. Gray Lives on the Rise. That's how I like it. It rhymes, and we're on the up. We're ascending. We're not going down. So, and then I said, we need to start using different kinds of adjectives. We are not old. We are not elderly. We're not seniors. We're none of that. We are vibrant. We are mature. We're seasoned. We are full of life. So that's how we refer to ourselves. And the only two organizations here in this country that relate to us are AARP and Medicare. None of my friends, nor do I subscribe to either one of them. There's nothing wrong with them, but we don't have a medicine cabinet filled with pills. We just don't. And we also, even if people have retired from their main job, they're still very active. So it's okay. Gray Lives on the Rise is something that I know is very important for this country, America. And in talking to people from different parts of the world, they were having the same issues. Because in this country, if you're 50 plus, people tend to be ageist. They tend to dismiss you. So I talk to people, and I've had people on the show from Canada, from Serbia, from Australia, from all parts of this country and the world. And the goal is to have a person from each continent represented, and eventually each country, because our issues were very much the same. We have men, so it's multiracial, it's multi-ethnic, men and women, and 50 plus all the way up are represented. So a little bit about me. I'm Professor Jamila Franklin. I have several businesses. I'm a holistic health practitioner. I have my own mental health practice that I've had for over 30 years. My specialty is healing ancestral trauma. Yes, the ancestors have passed things down to you. And with my background, I'm able to help you. So I do a lot of that. And I'm a Reiki master, an energy medicine practitioner, certified aromatherapist. And I'm also into quantum mechanics and quantum physics. Have my own institute. So I do a lot of things, right? And Gray Lives on the Rise is my newest baby. And I wanted to really expose people who are in the 50 plus age group to positive things. And go on our website. The website is oyendeenterprises.com, and it's spelled O like an orange, Y like in young, I like an independent, N like a neighbor, D like in dog, E, enterprises, E like in excellent, N like in neighbor, T like in Tom, E like in elephant, R like in Robert, P like in Peter, R like in Robert, I like in independent, S like in Sam, E like in excellent, S like in Sam.com, oyendeenterprises.com. And Gray Lives on the Rise is one of my companies now. So it's also listed on the website. You can get all the information that you need to have once you go to the website. So the company that's underwriting it, one of my companies, is Jamila Sense. That's my aromatherapy company. That's amazing. And this is one of the products. It's Peace Be Still. It's an aromatherapy product. I'm a certified aromatherapist, so I create all of my products. And this product is number one for stress. It's amazing. On all you do, as you can see, it's all natural. You see that there's no food coloring in it. And it has lavender, lemongrass, and geranium. And just put 3 drops in your hand. You don't take my products by mouth. You rub your hands together. Breathe in 3 times. It eliminates stress, anxiety, depression, hyperactivity within children, sinus congestion, sinus headaches, migraine headaches, PMS, menstrual concerns, any stress there. And like I said, you don't take it by mouth. And you put the rest on your arms, and it's excellent as a body lubricant. And it also gets rid of flies and mosquitoes. In the summertime, they would not come near you. They don't like lavender, they don't like geranium, they don't like lemongrass. And I'm a Reiki master, so I put Reiki energy in it, zaps them away. So go to my website to see all the courses that I teach and all the other wonderful offerings that are there. And plus Gray Lives on the Rise. Okay. So now having done that, I'm going to introduce to you tonight Tammy Russell. Tammy has a long history as an integrative healer. She spent years helping people recover their gut and immune health as a functional medicine practitioner. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people don't know about functional medicine. I do. I've had a functional medicine naturopath, and a good friend of mine who's my medical holistic doctor talks about it. And realized over time that many physical patterns of disease are held in place by emotional energies. This made sense as to why some people would be on terribly restrictive diets for years and spend a fortune on supplements, but couldn't advance their healing journeys. It's deeper than that. During the pandemic, Tammy further crafted her skills in healing energy and realized a path to also become a medical intuitive, like Carolyn Meese. She's a medical intuitive. Once she established a clear connection and receiving intuitive guidance, she began to offer highly alchemical healing sessions with tuning forks. Yay! All the things I love. Emotion code, which I also practice. Reiki, which I'm a Reiki master, and channeled guidance. I love this woman's background. I can connect to everything that she's doing. It's authentic. It's real. She also developed her own modality, like me. Kindred spirits, Tammy. She also developed her own modality of removing paired energies at the same time. We're going to talk about that. Clients that work with Tammy report less anxiety, more energy, better sleep, better bowel movements, and peace of mind, having protocols that are working for them instead of shooting in the dark. Tammy lives in Portland, Oregon, and offers in-person and virtual sessions. Welcome, Tammy. Thank you so, so much. So,
Thank
Tammy,
you.
I can relate to everything that you do because I do some of those things as well. You're medical intuitive. So let's start there. I don't ask people a lot of questions, everyone, before I interview them for the podcast because I like to keep it fresh. So if you see that I'm getting overly excited, it's genuine. I'm not faking it because I don't know this. So now you're medical intuitive like Carolyn Meese. I'm so fascinated by that. So let's talk about that. How did you come into this? How did you know that you had this gift? Did you know it as a child? Did you let it evolve as an adult? Let's talk.
Yeah, well, I wasn't one of those people that, was struck by lightning at age 4 and realized that I could see the dead and all kinds of cool stuff. I kind of went through life thinking I was more ordinary and more boring than most people. And I
Mm,
did spend a lot. I was a big introvert and I spent a lot of time in my own world. Um,
yeah.
Kind of downloading information. I realize that now when I think back to all the times I would just sit in my closet and download information about stuff, I just thought I was talking to myself, but I think I was probably talking to my own spirit team. Um, but I never would have considered myself like a medical intuitive as a child. I did always want to help people and be a doctor. Um,
Hmm.
I realized earlier on, though, in like high school and college, that being a doctor was a little too much for me in terms of dogma and how rigorous it was. And
Yeah.
I was hemophobic, so I would see blood and pass out. So like probably not
Mm,
going to be a doctor. Um, but I thought like, people heal with food, and that put me on the path towards being a dietitian, which I became in the early 90s. And people kind of wag their finger and say, "Oh, you were taught by the government, and that's, not real nutrition and it's not healing." But truthfully, back then, you did get that kind of education, but a lot of dietitians learned their craft on their own, and became kind of self-knowledgeable, just like any true healer is you build and learn on the root blocks and then you go way further. So um,
yeah.
by the time I had already been a dietitian for a while, I wasn't crazy about it. I was working in a hospital and it was kind of boring and stuff. But anyway, I kind of went off and did some clinical research because that was way more exciting. But then it was when I moved to Oregon and I was pregnant, I was having my kids, and then we all had crazy health problems. And I was
Mm,
like, oh, mainstream medicine is not going to cut it. And my pediatrician looked at me and she said, "I can't help you. You need to go to a naturopath." And I'm like, that's probably the most helpful thing anyone has ever said to me. Um,
mm-hmm,
and so it took us on this huge odyssey of me going to all of these alternative healthcare practitioners, trying to get my kids better, trying to get myself better. And
mm-hmm,
it took me years to put together the pieces to figure out what was wrong. And while I was practicing as an integrative dietitian years later in functional medicine, I realized I was just downloading protocols for people without having
mm-hmm,
to think about them. And
mm-hmm,
it would just come into my head like, this person needs this much vitamin C and this much CoQ10, this much glutathione, this much detox. And I was like, okay, sounds right to me.
mm,
Like, let's go with it. Um, and then I was kind of getting more and more information with more energy healing courses that I started to take. And I originally took them in the early 2000s to help my kids. And then I would only do it on them. But then I realized, hey, this stuff can be really helpful for
mm-hmm,
everyone. Everyone can benefit from energy healing. So it was like before the pandemic, I started taking advanced emotional energy healing courses. And then it was during the pandemic that I was in a Facebook group with a really amazing Reiki master and psychic medium and her husband. They were healing us from inside out. And I could really palpably feel it. And I was like, whoa, this is way different. And it opened up my whole world. Maybe it opened up my pineal gland, I'm not sure. But I then established contact with my spirit team, and I could realize I could talk to them. And then reading books about medical intuition, I realized I can create my own medical intuitive team made up
mm-hmm.
of certain characters that can help me with gut health, that could help me with autoimmune stuff, that could help me with brain stuff. So I began to populate that team with all of these specialists. And then it's really about
So
being,
let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Did you identified the people like Edgar Casey and whatever, or they just came to you intuitively? Do you know who they were? The team that you're talking about, metaphysical
Yeah, I
team.
believe it seemed to me early on that there was always a flux. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to pigeonhole any specific character or idea of who I was talking to. So I just
Mm-hmm.
decided if I'm always asking for such and such a thing, so when I go in and I'm talking to my guides, my I call them divine and sacred. I'm asking for my divine and sacred medical intuitive specialists. They kind
Mm-hmm.
of know like who's going to come in and who's going to talk to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that person can vary, but as long as they're the best energies, that's really what I want. So I
Mm-hmm.
find it limiting to just say, "Oh, Rick is my man and I need Rick." And Rick might be the person I'm always speaking to, but I want to have that ability to make it, alchemical and special and I want to pay homage to the fact that those energies can be changing even though they're always going to be good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really work like that. I'm just like, who's gonna play with me right now?
Wow. I love this. This is so interesting because sometimes we get stuck in naming who we think would be best. And that person, you may have outgrown that energy and you need to go to something else. But what you did is you specify the characteristic and the one
Yeah.
that's best for that characteristic shows up as opposed to name a specific entity. Oh, wow. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I realized when I was doing these classes with that Facebook group and I was opening up, I connected with my grandmother. I always sensed she was really special because you can kind of see an angel in action in human form because they're always doing for other people. Like they literally can't not do for other people. And that was my grandmother. And I asked to speak with her because I always felt connected to her. And when I saw her come in, I was like, oh wow, she was this gorgeous archangel with big wings, and I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. But then I asked her to be part of my healing team. And then once that was kind of established, I realized the other side was showing me visions of how to do Reiki. I had never done Reiki before because I always thought everyone does Reiki. You can't be that special, right? Because
Mhm.
I did other energy healing and I was like, Reiki, everyone does it. But then they showed me how to do it. And I realized, oh, this is really cool. Like, this is really special. And I was doing some other energy work on my daughter one day, and they just stopped my hands. They stopped me from doing, I was doing acuneck tapping, and they just stopped my hands and they got my hands in position for Reiki. And then they showed me what to do. And my daughter's like, what are you doing? And I said, I think it's Reiki. And then they began to show me how the energy comes through your body and out through your hands
Mhm.
and how you can use your eyes to send healing. And then I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm totally married to this. And then I took formal courses because I realized, that was going to be important for other people to see.
Mm. That is so interesting. I'm just so amazed at what you do. So, like with Carolyn Meets, can you see inside of the person's body as well, or do you just feel? Can you feel? Because I know
Oh,
as a Reiki master, I can feel what's off with the person, and then
yeah.
when my guides tell me, through my inner ear. So,
Yeah.
how does your magic work?
I can absolutely feel it, and then it depends what I ask for. So if I use my intention and attention to focus on a particular gland, I can see it, and I can see what's making it off. Like if I looked at a postmenopausal woman's ovaries, sometimes I can see that it's kind of like desiccated, it's kind of dry and shriveled up. At least that's the image that's being shown to me because they're like, this thing's done. It's done its share. But I can see, if there's inflammation, if I want to look at somebody's thyroid, my guides know what I'm looking for, so they'll show me like, hey, there's some heavy metals in that thyroid and it's prohibiting optimal function, or hey, there's some inflammation there. The thyroid maybe has some kind of pathogen issue. And then they'll tell me like this person is eating gluten and they're sensitive to it, or they're eating dairy. And I usually muscle test in my head. I use like a bar chart of every like food that can be most inflammatory or triggering for food sensitivity. So if I want to ask, hey, is this person reacting to a food? I'll do in my head and I'll ask like gluten, dairy, soy, corn, eggs, chocolate, alcohol, and then I'll get the bar graph of what's coming up as most inflammatory for the person. But yeah, I mean, it depends what I'm asking for, but I can tell a lot. Like if I'm doing a scan of somebody and I start off and I ask, like, let's look at their organs. I start off with the brain and I see what's happening in the brain, and then I'll just get messages like, this is what's happening in the brain, this is what's happening in the throat or thyroid, this is what's happening in the heart. And then if I want to look at chakras, I'm like, and then I tell my guides, let's look at chakras, which chakras are off. And then they'll say, okay, the crown. And sometimes they'll tell me like ancestral, or I'll ask, is there ancestral stuff in the crown? What's happening in the brow chakra? You know, for women, often it's the throat and it's the heart and it's the solar plexus. Those three come up, I would say, most often, but it could be sacral and root too. It depends upon the person, but I would say solar plexus number one,
Mm,
especially because that's so related to gut health problems, and we have a gut health epidemic. And the two energies there, you know, are the intestines being off physically, but then this feeling of powerlessness that often accompanies,
mm,
you know, the bad bacteria
mm.
that usually causes gut health problems.
This is so amazing because everything you're telling me, it's like your guys schooled you in it. You got the basics from traditional education, but then the more advanced part in terms of the being able to use kinesiology in your head, as opposed to having someone physically extend his or her arm and you push it down. And they created my own kinesiology testing. It's different than anything that's out there, and it's very effective. But that is so amazing. So most of the things that you do are through imaging. You see it within your mind's
I
eye.
see it, I feel it. Yeah. So when I have somebody on the
Yeah,
table, even if I'm finishing up a session and I'm like, that was a great session. And in my head, I'm like, maybe the session's over. And then sometimes I get a message like, it's not over. I'm like,
yeah,
okay. Because I don't want to leave something that really needs to be addressed hanging. If
yeah.
there's something else, like I was finishing up a session the other day and I thought we were going to be done, but then I was kind of getting a message like, we're not done. And I did another scan, and the person had had some old ancestral mercury in the midbrain in the corpus callosum that was resonating with a certain frequency. And my
Mhm.
guides were like, you know, let's address this. And I was like, cool, you know, let's spend some time on that.
So when you spend time on it, what are you doing? Are you removing it from the auric field? Are you how are you doing? Are you transmuting it? How?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. And one thing about me is I'm devoted to this pathway, so I'm always learning.
Mhm.
Um, And that makes me a total alchemist during a session because I might throw in a million different things at once. You know, with Reiki, it's kind of it's beautiful and it's probably the most healing thing ever. But for me, I like to bring in other stuff in
Yeah.
addition to it. But I put Reiki into everything I do.
Mhm.
So
Well,
for
you
that,
can't help it. If
you
you become
can't.
a Reiki
Yeah.
master, people tell me,
Yep.
"Oh, your calzone is so wonderful," and I give them the same ingredients. It doesn't taste like yours. I said, "Well, I don't." It's Reiki energy. It's Reiki. You know, I'm showing you. You have, but it doesn't taste. You can't stop the Reiki energy once you've been initiated.
You can't stop it. So,
Right.
so for that particular example, like that person that had the mercury in their midbrain, I was looking what emotional frequency was resonating with it, and it was, I think, nobody loves me.
Mhm.
And then I did my paired removal technique. So it's kind of based on emotion code, body code, but my guides just told me this is the way to do it. So I say out loud with my intention, let's release and remove all the energies and frequencies related to the presence of ancestral Mercury, because it was ancestral Mercury, and this inherited um, emotional frequency that's resonating with it. So I'll say out loud, let's release and remove all the paired frequencies of inherited Mercury and inherited core belief, nobody loves me. And then I put this intense focus on that part of the brain, and I visualize in my head all of those paired frequencies leaving together. And sometimes you know, I'm using my hands to expedite it. I see a grounding cord off the end of the bed, sending all these energies into the grounding cord. Sometimes I stud all of those energies with crystal, and then I got a cosmic vacuum and I suck them all up.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow,
but it's just a combination of things. So, you know, emotional release comes in many forms. But the goal is to clean up all of those energies as much as you can at that moment in time.
that is so amazing. That is so amazing. So, and you're doing this. This is a question I need to ask at the end, but I'm going to ask it anyway in case I forget. How do you protect yourself? Because you're absorbing a lot of energy, or you're no. rephrase, you are pulling out a lot of energy, but I know you have a protection system, because I know I do, where you're not taking it on into your body.
Yeah. I ask at the beginning, I just ask Archangel Michael to surround me with 1,000 feet of unconditional love in all directions. And then I envision, all the white and gold energy covering me from head to toe. And
Mm,
if I'm sensing that somebody's carrying around some really bad energy, which some people do, and I just tell them it's unhelpful. I'm not there to scare anybody or, to do an exorcism. I'm just saying there's some unhelpful energy. Maybe it came in to help you at one point and it overstayed its welcome. So I'll do like a shamanic release on them. And if I feel it in the space that it's kind of and it wants to come into me, I'll automatically ask for protection and then I'll see my protection.
mm,
Sometimes I clean myself during the session because I feel like maybe something's trying to grab onto me. And I'll just bring, a beautiful white cloud from head to toe, bring it down through my body, clearing out any unhelpful energies.
mm. Wow, that's wonderful. And the thing that I love about what you're doing at this moment, Tammy, is that you're very, very descriptive. So I can see in my mind's eye everything that you're doing. It's not
Yes.
theoretical for me.
No.
It's very, it's very descriptive, it's very practical. And if you are into energy like I am, energy healing and all that, I can see all of this. It's like I'm living those experiences with you. I'm seeing those energies removed. And I'm just really fascinating because everything you're doing is alchemical. And I like your approach to how you're doing it because you're opening yourself up to the universal forces, beings of light, because I tell them only the beings of light that are 100% in alignment with the creative energy are allowed within this space. So
Mhm.
nothing else can come in it. It
Yeah.
can look in the windows, but it's not allowed in that space. So this
Yeah.
is so interesting. Uh, uh, I could, I know we have a time restraint, but I can have you here 2 days in a row and just still be pumping information. So with people, do you, and I know you do, this is a rhetorical question, but I'm asking it for the people in the audience, 50 plus and older and younger. I have people younger who pop in too. Can you, if you walk up on a person in the crowd, people used to be paranoid about me. I said, I'm not reading you all the time. I shut that off. She's reading me. I said, no, I'm not. But can you pick up on people's energies just randomly if you're out in a crowd?
Yeah, I feel like my channel needs to be open for that, and that's not safe for me. I don't like to, first of all, I'm an empath and that would be stressful for me. I
Yeah,
used to,
yeah,
when I first got into it, I'd be at the store and I'd be like, I wonder about that person. And then
yeah,
I was like, oh, this is a bad idea. Like, it's not my business.
yeah,
Everyone has their own journey,
yeah,
and they're here to learn just like I am. So
yeah,
it's not for me to disempower them or to take away from that or color that in any way. So it's better for me not to know, I've decided.
yeah,
However, I do sense if I'm in communication, like a one-on-one with somebody, I'm in their space physically, I can definitely sense if there's some wrong energy that they're holding on to. I mean, that's to me, I'm like, ooh, I need to step away from this person, or I think I need to clear my energy after that Zoom call with that person because I'm not feeling too good. Like I will definitely be impacted by that.
yeah, 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 yeah. How can a person who needs your assistance, but there's a lot of people who need what you provide and what I provide and other intuitive channelers, because everyone can heal, they just don't know, they're blocking it. But how can a person step into this like you did? Because sometimes, like when I was a child, I thought everyone could do what it wasn't a big deal to me until I became an adult and someone asked me, how do you know what you know? I was like, oh, I don't know what you're asking me. Know things other people don't do. I said, no, I don't. Everybody, she said, no, they don't. Because I don't talk like, oh, I see dead people. So I talked like a normal child, but my mom was older. And so I talked like an advanced child. People just thought,
Mhm.
because her mom was older. My mom was like 38 when she had me. So back in the day, they would say, that's the baby of an old woman. So I talked like, they used to call me the little old woman. It would hurt my feelings because I was like, I'm not an old woman, I'm a kid. And I played like kids. I had a normal childhood, but I was advanced.
Hmm.
So when you go through that, and I could see things, I could hear things, I saw my grandmother's spirit. I saw two angels come when my grandmother was transitioning, and I didn't know that she was. She was in another state, and we were in Tennessee. She was in Mississippi. I saw the two angels come down and lift her spirit out of her body. I saw that with my two eyes, and I was fine. So,
Wow.
how do people? Because a lot of my friends were intuitive and whatever, but their parents told them that they didn't see or hear what they saw and heard, and they were
Hmm.
chastised if they talked about it. Were you experiencing any of this as a child? And if so, how did your parents deal with it?
Yeah, I had a really weird childhood with, I was a child of the 70s, of course, like all of us in our 50s or 60s. And meaning 1960s. But my parents got married too young and they started having kids too young. And there was, there was a lot of, I guess, trauma for me. And I just spent most of my time as an introvert because that's how I learned to heal. Um,
Mm,
so I was kind of like I felt like the ignored or rejected kid in the family. So I really didn't want to talk to anyone because I was afraid it would be just backlash. And I just kept that to
mhm,
myself. But, I feel like now there's so many of us being called like what you do. And a little bit of what I do too is to support the consciousness evolution of our peers,
mm,
right?
mm,
Because we have so
mhm.
many people waking up right now and
Yeah,
they don't know what to do with this. They have no idea
yeah.
what to do with this. So um, I find it's really helpful, especially with women, to be like, you're not alone. It's okay. I show them what books to read, which is nice hand holding, easy to read, loving, supportive books to get more comfortable with their intuitive side and to
Mm,
feel more supported. Sometimes I'll upgrade their spirit team. If I notice there's not so great energy on their spirit team, I'll upgrade it during a session. And I teach them how to reach out and how to talk to their spirit team and how to ask for things. And I'm also, when I'm doing a session with them, since I'm a biofield tuner, because I work with tuning forks too, um,
mm,
I'll work at their Earth star and their Sun star. And when I'm at both places, I get channeled messages for them. So I'll get
mm,
really good messages about their path in life.
mm,
Maybe if they're stuck or if they need a little support, the guides will come through with a message for them at the Earth star, which is the present moment, and the Sun star, which is more about the crown chakra and the spiritual side. So I
mm.
really love this work because there's so much need for it. There's so much need for
Yes,
support and consciousness evolution.
yes,
And you know, that's why your podcast is so important and people that do what you do. So it's all like it's time to just hold hands
yes,
and show each other how to do the nesty plunge, right?
yes, yes, yes. And I commend you because to for all of us really, but yours is so important, and it's an integrated kind of process to step out in this third dimensional, dense,
Mm.
linear morass, because that's what it is.
It's
It's a
so hard.
morass.
Yeah.
And to have the courage to speak the spiritual truth. Because I do it. I do it. Speak a galactic language, all this stuff, and people, I don't care if you think I'm crazy, because I don't really care.
I
But
love it.
I don't care.
I love
But
it.
all the things that you do, and it's so amazing. I'm just like, wow. I've not talked to a person with as many diverse skills as you, and how you're able to integrate them. And then when you said you can upgrade someone's spirit team, I've never heard that. I've never met anyone who's been who said that. So how do you do that? Do you talk to them and say, I'm upgrading you, or does your
Yeah,
team?
I do a quick scan and I'll just ask to be shown their spirit guidance team. And if there's unhelpful energy, because truthfully, if we want to ascend, if we want to go further on our spiritual journey, or maybe any other kind of journey, we need the right spirit team helpers. And some of them are for like kindergartners, and some of them
Yeah,
are for like the Cadillac, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And you want to ascend, you want the Cadillac. So if and some of the energies are just plain unhelpful and not help, not good. So I'll
Yeah.
be shown like a black blob if there's unhelpful energy. And then I know, like, okay, there's a black blob here too. And then we want to upgrade them. So I will do kind of an intentional prayer with the divine and sacred, pure, blessed, and holy. And I'm asking for their spirit to be team to be upgraded. And then I'm visualizing their spirit team. And as I'm visualizing it, I'm bringing really beautiful, bright white light down into those black blobs and I'm transmuting them.
Mm.
And then I'm transmuting them into the light. I'm asking them to be taken to the third heaven or higher. And then I'm asking for that person's specific team to be updated at a higher level so that they can continue their ascension journey and they can have the help they need.
This is so amazing, Tammy. Oh my goodness. This is so amazing. I've had some really amazing guests on my show. And this, you're the only one I have met. And I don't say things just to be saying things. I'm not like, I'm very, very, very direct. I'm very direct. I've not met anyone who has said that they could upgrade someone's spiritual team and use the alchemical approach to doing that and some other things. This is just really amazing. So, okay, I want to finish this part, then get to the functional medicine. I'm sitting up here like a student in your class. So with this, do you get any pushback from any of the forces on the other side or someone else's team? Because I've seen some, this is what I've said to people. And I tell people, it's not being boastful or any of that. And I think you fall into this category. People who are intuitive sometimes can't read me. They can't read my field because their guides are not at that level where they can
Uh-huh.
read me. And I can tell because then I end up reading them. I'm like, yeah, and I can tell if something is off when they're giving me some information because I always like to get insight and input from others because they don't show you everything about yourself. That's part of the journey. If you knew everything, you wouldn't be here. So I like
Mhm.
getting input, but it's interesting. I've not heard anyone who's been able to elevate other people's teams. And now this is making sense because I know of some people, one particular person, no, two particular people who've done all their work. They are doing their work. And I have been, well, Spirit is showing me too, that one is just stuck in victimization from childhood. And I don't think she's been working on it, but when people look at her differently, she sees it as a negative, whereas I see it as the people see her light. And that's what there is, even if they're frowning, they don't know
Mhm.
why they're frowning, but they see
Mhm.
her light and to start perceiving it in that way, not about, they're casting aspersions on you or trying to do something to you when they're frowning or staring at you. It's not like that because the higher self is really trying to communicate. And the human self vessel doesn't know how to connect. But I'm talking to you because this is making sense. The two individuals I know who've done all their work and they are still experiencing physical trauma and, medical stuff. And Spirit has told me to tell one of them, the other one I'm not in touch with that much, that going to the doctor is not going to help her. And it doesn't. She said several surgeries, sinus stuff. So I said, it's not going to help. I said, they're
Yeah.
telling me that it's an internal job and she's doing the work, but I see what the blockage is because I see that she sees herself as being a victim because of her childhood. And I don't know how to get beyond that with her
Mhm.
because intellectually she can hear it. But then if somebody does something that's kind of interesting, she sees it as they're throwing negative energy towards her, as opposed to, I said, well, turn that around and say that you're in charge of this and you don't have to accept it and to transmute it,
Mhm.
because it's getting more intense with her physical stuff. And she's a major healer. She can read and all that other stuff, but she just,
Yeah.
how do you help someone like that? I guess that's my long question.
Yeah, well, and just in regards to upgrading somebody's spirit team, it's accordance with their higher self. Obviously, if
Mm-hmm.
it's something that their higher self does not agree with, it's not going to happen, or it's not for me to infringe on that. So asking the higher self is always important. Just like you do remote work on somebody without them knowing, you ask their higher self, like, is it okay if I do a little
Mm-hmm.
bit work on this person?
Mm-hmm.
So, you
Even if
know,
they consciously say that it's okay, if they say, yes, I
yeah, if the
want.
person says it's okay, because I'll always ask them, is it okay if I upgrade your spirit team? But it has to be in alignment with the higher self and the person and all that stuff. But I think
Mm-hmm.
asking the person, it's totally fine. In the space of they're in my office and we're doing a session, I always ask them. But if somebody's having a physical challenge that's not getting better,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
then I like to see their name, a picture of them. I'll go in deep and I'll just talk to my guides. What's going on with this person? I always ask, is it emotional or is it physical? Okay, it's emotional. Well, is it a core belief? Is it an inherited core belief? Is it some kind of hidden or trapped emotion? Okay, and then if I get like a core belief, maybe it's inherited. I'm like, okay, what physical symptom is it resonating with? What physical
Mm-hmm.
pattern or symptom is it resonating with? Is it something in their liver? Is it in the brain? Um, and then if it's something in the brain, then I ask, what is it? If it's physical, is it toxicity or pathogen? Toxicity, okay. Is it heavy metal, chemical? Is it, something else? Usually heavy metal or chemicals, because chemical is a pretty wide umbrella. Um, so like somebody could have a lot of paint exposure, like maybe their mom painted the whole house, you know, with
Mm-hmm.
with totally bad paint, because now they make paint that's low chemical and much better to be around versus the stuff that used to be around. So this has happened many times where somebody's parent just went nuts like painting, or even them, and they used regular paint.
Mm-hmm.
And their body had
And
blocked
the lead.
detoxification pathways. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the liver, maybe it's not detoxing properly, and many people have that issue too. So they held on to that stuff. And then it held on too because there was an emotion that was resonating with it. So for somebody like you mentioned with a resistant to healing issue, it's not too hard. It's kind of easy to figure out what it is, where is it, what's going to make it go away. And sometimes it's a few sessions, but it's all about, releasing and removing that. And like I said at the beginning, like I'm devoted to this pathway. So I don't even think that what I do now is enough because, I get rid of stuff, I remove it, and people feel way better. But I want to go to the DNA. So my next big thing is, let's reprogram the person on a DNA level.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that's like the ultimate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and that would mean like, okay, if your liver detox pathways are not working correctly, what is it about the DNA that makes you have that default and detoxification? And I think that would be really cool. But what I do now is getting that release and removal going. I also optimize and open pathways of elimination detoxification in the whole gastrointestinal system to make sure that somebody's going to eliminate properly. Because if I start doing all this detox, right, I'm removing all these
Yeah.
heavy metals and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
those pathways are not open. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel dizzy. You're going to feel headache. And I've had before I started opening up those pathways, people would be like, oh, I don't feel so good. And I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. We got to open up those pathways and then it'll be fine. So I always tell people after a session, if you feel a little off or Michigana, you just text me right away and I'll go back and make sure all those pathways are opened up correctly so stuff is flowing.
So what does it flow to? What's the path? Does it go out into the universe? Are you transmuting it? Where does it go?
A lot of it gets transmuted because I see stuff just going straight out. Like if I'm removing stuff from the
Mm-hmm.
brain, I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it right out of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Yeah.
still some that's going to come through the body and be excreted normally.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
this is evidenced by work I've done on myself too. Like I lie in bed in the morning and I'm like, what's in my brain? Like
Mm-hmm.
just asking questions like there was a bunch of arsenic once that came up in my brain and I'm like, oh, okay, well let's remove that. Show me the best way to remove that. So I'm removing arsenic and I really hit the jackpot because I really hit an emotional frequency that was holding it in place, like on the spot. Like it was very much resonating with that arsenic. And I did a big release and removal, and I hadn't opened up my pathways, and I really felt it. And I was like, okay, like that was not too wise. But yeah, I think most of it is just transmuted because that's what I see leaving the body energetically. And then there's still some that comes through.
Yeah. Well, how do you tie this in? Well, what you said, I can see it, but for people who are not that familiar with it, how do you tie this into functional medicine?
Functional medicine is all about root cause, and truthfully, the grandfather of functional medicine is naturopathy. It's the
Yeah.
naturopath that owned integrative medicine, and then the doctors realized they weren't healing people, and they wanted to learn naturopathy, And the naturopaths started teaching them and they called it functional medicine. So really that's what
Mm,
functional medicine is. It's integrative natural medicine, but doctors like to call it that because they kind of tweaked it a little bit too. Is not only is it natural medicine for them, but they decided, let's just do a lot of tests because doctors do like to do a lot of tests. So they do a lot of tests and they like to do a lot of prescription medication. So they like to do a lot of supplements.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all about root cause. It's about, functional medicine doctors do know how to look for toxicity, and they should. So they're pretty good at doing like Lyme's disease testing and mold testing, and things like that. And they're aware that toxicity is fueling a lot of our current epidemic of autoimmune health problems. So
Mm,
I find that really helpful. What I don't find helpful is if they don't realize that there's often a root cause of toxicity, and they just start blaming it on these bucket diagnoses, and they might say, "Oh, you have mold, that's your problem, and you have to take all of these supplements to get rid of it, and I want you to do this test." The problem with that approach is that they're not realizing that many people that do have mold toxicity have a suppression of their immune system because of another reason. So many people that suffer from mold, they already have a compromised immune system because they might be loaded with some heavy metals or something else that's toxic, holding them down. Or it could be something else. It's not necessarily toxicity, but something's holding them down because you could have 5 people living in a house that's moldy and only one person gets sick. So you can't throw everyone in the mold bucket without realizing what is personalizing that person to make them susceptible to mold.
hmm That's very true. That's very. Before we run out of time, I would love for people to get your contact information. How can
Sure.
they contact you? Because we have about 10 minutes more, but
Yep.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at my website is modernintuitivehealing.com, and they can shoot me
Okay,
an
spell
email.
it out for people because we're doing
Sure.
the 50 plus.
I hear you. www modern modernintuitivehealing.com modernintuitivehealing.com. They can also send me an email, Tammy at modernintuitivehealing.com. And I'm on Instagram, modern_intuitive_healing. And I have a Facebook page by the same name. So they can contact me through social media, through my website.
Excellent. So are most of your clients 50 plus? What would you, yeah, do you have a large percentage of people who are in our demographic?
Yeah, I do. I would say that most of them are between the ages of 40 and 75 and female. Most of my patients, because we're the ones that are going to go for healing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I love working with kids. I've had really nice success working with kids, like teenagers with anxiety of over time, especially after one session, just reducing that anxiety, making them feel better. So I love to work with teenagers too. I have teenagers, so it's important to me to cater to all populations, especially that one, because our kids are not well, and we have to get them better.
Yeah, yeah, we're being exposed to all the radiation from cell phones, the video games,
Yeah.
microwaves, all these electronics. It's,
The screens are not helping, and that
yeah.
so with the epidemic of high toxic load and toxicity in our brains and stuff like that, that's like an antenna. So when that hits all the EMFs, Wi-Fi, and radiation, that's the situation that creates ADHD and ADD. So it's
Mhm.
it's heavy metals plus all the EMFs, Wi-Fi, and radiation.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, what would you, because I don't want us to run out of time, because I know we're going to, okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to close it out. What would you suggest? What would you like to leave this audience with? I mean, you are amazing. Do you have a podcast or anything like that that people can listen to? You said you have Instagram, so
I'm on Instagram. Yeah,
you're live on Instagram?
I used to. I plan on doing a lot more with social media, but right now I just kind of need to clone myself. I would love to have a podcast. I don't know where you get all the energy from because you sound absolutely amazing and dynamic and incredible. I so honor all of your energy and initiative. Um, I'm currently, like I said, I'm always learning, so I'm
Oh,
kind of like I'm always in the space where I'm trying to learn more. So I do devote a lot of my time towards trying to do better and be better. But yes, I do like to post stuff on Instagram and social media when I can. Um, and then people can book a discovery chat with me and I'm happy to talk to them. And if there's anything that I want to leave people knowing today, it's that you are perfect. Are you there?
you're going back and forth because I'm listening to me. I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, but
Yeah, this I don't
oops, I think I lost you again. But sometimes people get there early.
I yeah,
Hey,
I'm sorry. This thing, well, I'm gonna get really kind of supernatural. Whenever I hit something that's really important, those energies that don't want it out there, we try to zap it. It's not gonna be successful. We're going to my editing team is going to edit together. No, I'm serious. Whenever I get to something that's really deep, it'll do stuff like this. I'm like, okay,
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
yeah, and that's the reason why I guess Spirit had me get your contact information early on. So if we didn't come back, that was already done.
Love
I,
it.
I listen. I listen. Well, we're about to wrap up anyway, so my team will edit that piece out.
Okay.
That piece out. So is there anything that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just like to end by saying that we're all perfect and we're all worthy of the most unconditional love available to us in this lifetime.
Yeah,
Um, we are we are we are divine, supreme, and just we're master creators, and we can create any reality we want, and we have to step into our power
yeah,
um, and realize that, and just let the fear go, let it go down your grounding cord, just push it out, let it go, and it's just the destroyer of so many people, and they don't realize it, that the holding on to fear gets them nothing, and taking those risks and stepping into their power as a creator gets them everything. So I
yeah.
just want everyone to know that they are perfect.
I love that. I love that. Well, you are divine. You are perfect. And I am so thankful and grateful to you for taking this conversation up to another level. Because, like I said, I've never heard how people can speak to someone else's spiritual team and upgrade the team. And I know how to do transmutation and Metatron Cube. I do all of that. But this is very interesting. And I so appreciate you because I learned a lot. I
Likewise. Thank you
learned a
so
lot.
much, Jamila. I appreciate it. You're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm just a mirror reflection of you. I'm a mirror reflection of you. Yeah, but thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you.
You
Thank
have a
you.
great rest of your day and evening.
You
For those
too.
who are listening, whatever time you're listening, we appreciate you. We thank you. And may you have a wonderful rest of the week. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Namaste. Take care.
Namaste. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Sense, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Sense is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.